Welcome to a new episode of the Modern Musician Survival Guide podcast. Today we're talking about 9 investments musicians often overlook. In my recent conversation with Sanya Romic on one of the previous episodes, we talked about investing in ourselves. And there we talked about health, education, about mentorship, about learning new skills, and how all of these things can go back into your career as a musician and into your playing. What I liked about that conversation is that we didn't focus strictly on investments that automatically means putting in a lot of money into the investments, but we talked about things that we can improve in our lives, not necessarily from a monetary point of view. So today's episode is more about digging deeper and looking at certain investments that you can make into your own lives that can have a beneficial turn to your careers. The investments we will be talking about today are in no strict order of importance because it really depends on the situation of each of you. So this is not a ranking of investments by importance or by priority, but it's sort of like a map for you to navigate your own situation. So let's start with the first investment. The first investment is mindset and inner work. What does mindset mean? It's the way you think about something. And in our classical music world, very often we are given a template or a roadmap or already a path that many musicians took, and we kind of don't really see any other way of being musicians. Luckily, nowadays this changes a lot, but it also starts with understanding what is important for us. It's sitting with ourselves and understanding where do we want to be, why do we want to be there, what is important for us. Is it really that important that we have 200 concerts per year? Maybe yes, maybe not, it's really personal. And the mindset there is very important. Because if we approach a career with a mindset of I either do this or that, or I'm a failure, that's kind of limiting and it operates from a space of scarcity. There's not enough for everyone. So working on your mindset is kind of like groundwork for the way you navigate through life and also for your own careers. And that's that inner digging, understanding why you're doing something and what is valuable for you. That's one of the biggest investments that you can make. The second investment you can make are the non-musical skills. So learning skills that support your career as a musician that don't necessarily have to do much with being a musician, like for example communication or being digitally literate or building a financial literacy, project management, marketing basics. So basically all of those skills that are not musical in nature but help you really a lot when it comes to managing your own career. The third investment that you can make is your curiosity outside of music. Because as musicians, of course, that's our lifestyle, but we also have many other interests. And cultivating those interests can be super beneficial to your musicianship, to your music skills, and to your music careers. I personally have struggled a lot with that because many times I was told you need to focus on this one thing and do this one thing very good. And while that kind of holds true, at the same time, for example, you like reading, you like reading fiction, fantasy books, or you like painting, or you enjoy directing or doing videos and films, or maybe you enjoy marathon running, whatever it is, all of these things are investments into you as a human being, into you as a person, and that afterwards translates into your musicianship, into your artistry. And actually, in my case, I see that, for example, I love traveling. And I notice that when I travel somewhere and I come back, I feel more fresh, I feel more energized. I feel that my music is much more alive and much more inspired. So, leaning into those things that spark your curiosity, spark your will to try things out, spark your creativity. Because without creativity, we as musicians, the fact that we do this every day, it can actually flatten a bit our enthusiasm for what we're doing. Maybe it's not your case, but for me, many times I need this stimuli of the things that I love doing that gets me back on track about being curious and enthusiastic and inspired when I play music and I do my daily job as a musician. Basically, investing in yourself as a whole-rounded human being influences the way you are as a musician. The next investment you can make is into relationships, networking, and community. This investment, you can think it as a form of career capital in a way, because building those relationships will increase your likelihood of being a more successful person in general, but also a more successful musician. It also has huge benefits for your health, for your overall well-being, and also in terms of career. The people you know, the people you surround yourself with, will give you the necessary energy and input and also support systems that you might need in order to achieve the career that you really want. This community can have many shapes, relationships can have many shapes. It can be peers, your colleagues, or someone who you admire, someone who inspires you. It can also be your fan base. It can also be your local church community or the local community of a music school where you might work, or whatever community that is there and supports you. The next investment you can make is into your financial stability. And this kind of connects a little bit with the mindset. And yes, it has to do with money. And on this we will have a separate dedicated episode. But financial stability can have many forms. In my experience, what I've noticed, financial stability is not something that you achieve and then it's there. It's a constant balancing act, but the peace of mind that it gives you and ability to make decisions in a much more grounded way is just really a huge investment into well-being, basically. Because if we have a financial stability, and in this case I'm talking about having a monthly buffer where, if whatever happens, you are covered and you don't need to worry about your rent, your bills, your food, putting food on the table, maybe you have a family. It can also mean having an emergency fund so that in case something happens maybe to your car or your instrument breaks, or you need a medical intervention, or, whatever happens, you know that you are covered and you have peace of mind with regards to that. And it also allows you to make better creative decisions. You can also choose to say no to concerts and opportunities that you think are not aligned with what you envision your career to be or what you need in that moment. So financial stability is not only about earning, it's about having a safety net in case something happens. Because also many times it's not if something happens, it's when something happens. And having that safety net there in place is absolutely crucial, especially for us musicians. And as I mentioned, there will be a separate episode on money, finances, and how to build financial stability. The next investment you can make into your career as a musician is health. Investing in your sleep, investing in your general physical well-being, practicing a sport, your mental health is absolutely vital and important for your career as a musician, for our career as a musician. Especially when we are younger and we have more energy and we play 5 concerts a week, we teach 20 hours per week, we travel from one place to another, we don't sleep nights and so on. It might seem something that we kind of have to do, but with time that compounds. And all those hours that you didn't sleep, you start slowly feeling them afterwards. So investing into recovery, maybe playing a sport on the weekends. I have colleagues who just love going to play football because it relaxes them. And it also kind of resets their mental space. Or maybe you just want to go for a walk in nature, or you want to go for a walk with a friend and just have a conversation, talk. That's really great for your mental well-being and your mental health. I really loved what Sanya was saying on the episode where we had our conversation about when we start feeling exhausted. And when that feeling of exhaustion comes, our bodies are normally the first ones to notice that and to give us signals. Many times we ignore those signals. We might think, okay, I didn't sleep well, I didn't eat well, I didn't practice enough, there's this thing that's kind of stressing me out at work, or there's this piece that's angering me, and so on and so forth. But that exhaustion is the sign that maybe something in your health is not really going that great. And maybe it's a really good time to stop a bit and to think, okay, am I doing the right thing? And is my enjoyment of what I'm doing bigger than the tiredness and the exhaustion that I feel? Because being tired and being exhausted are two different things. Tired is more physically tired, but you might feel good about it. And exhausted, it's also on an energy level, but you have no space and no capacity for anything else. So yeah, health, like we all the time hear and say to everyone and to ourselves, health is the most important thing, and it certainly is. And I think many of us are so busy with everything that we are doing and everything that we are building that many times we put our physical health and mental health, which is one and the same, we put it kind of in the back of our priority lists. And perhaps it's worth rethinking that. Another investment that's often overlooked is mentors and coaches. Just like we were saying on the episode with Sanya, the right mentors and the right coaches who have the experience, who have the knowledge, who have tried to build something similar to what you are building and are kind of more far ahead in their journey and in their paths, they can actually help you save a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of energy by helping you with what works and what doesn't work. Because you can also learn through trial and error and see what works on your own. But the faster and the more efficient way would be to find the right people that can help you on your path, who have maybe done it themselves and can actually help you understand what your next steps should look like. And this is also part of the work that I'm doing with Modern Musicians Survival Guide. I work with musicians on career clarity, strategy, and building a sustainable career. If this is something you're struggling with and are confused, want more clarity, or are not sure what your next step should look like, you are very welcome to book a free introduction call with me. The next investment you can make is into developing your business skills. Because we were taught how to perform on stage, how to master our instruments, but we weren't taught about all the different tasks that musicians need to do in order to have a successful modern day career. These business skills involve negotiation, pricing, presenting yourself, both in public spaces, but also presenting yourself online, digital marketing, all sorts of advertisement, building systems, building a network of contacts, and also following up with them, networking, and so on and so forth. And it doesn't necessarily need to be an expensive investment. You can, of course, take courses, or you can also listen to this podcast, for example. By listening to this podcast, you are already investing into your business skills and learning how to navigate in a more clear way the career of a modern day musician. You can also read books. There's also a lot of videos on YouTube. There's a lot of great podcasts that you can listen to. And by doing that, you invest in yourself and into being able to get the career that you are building. And the last investment I think is overlooked, or at least undervalued, is being in the room. Being in the rooms where things happen. Attending events, attending concerts, attending conferences, attending master classes, attending presentations, because being constant in your presence builds also trust and also builds relationships. And this ties back into building networks and building relationships. Because by being present and by being there, you are beginning to be reliable and constant in the eyes of the people that you surround yourself with. Actually, I remember one of my mentors, who was the general manager of a venue, was telling me that there was a pianist who was all the time coming to their concerts and all the time being available there for turning pages and also for staying after the concert, talking to the artists, talking to the organizers, talking to him, talking to the audiences. Being present and reliable as she was, once a pianist couldn't perform because of an injury and the general manager had to find a substitute, the first person that came to mind was this pianist that was constantly there and reliable. So even in terms of, creating opportunities, that's something that's definitely undervalued. And I know by myself, many times I'm resistant to going out and actually attending events where my peers are or attending concerts. Granted, I live in a place where you would need to travel at least half an hour, 40 minutes by car to get somewhere, but that's kind of the reality of most bigger cities as well. And being present there, being seen, builds towards relationships, a network, and towards trust. So being in the rooms where things happen is definitely something that you should think about investing in. So let's go once again through the investments that musicians often overlook. The first one is mindset and inner work. The second one is building non-musical skills. The third one is curiosity outside music and leaning into your interests. The fourth one is relationships, network, and community. The fifth one is financial stability. The sixth one is health. The seventh one is mentors and coaches. The eighth one is building business skills. And the last one is being in the rooms where things happen. So yeah, these are the investments that in my opinion are overlooked or at least undervalued by musicians. And what's important to remember, this small mindset shift, is that investments doesn't necessarily mean money and investing money into something. Many times it's about what brings us value and leaning heavily into that and cutting everything out that's not of interest or that's not helpful to us and maybe doesn't even help us go towards our vision of a successful career. And at the end of this episode, I will leave you with a question. Which area of investment have I been neglecting because it is less visible or less urgent? Thank you again for listening to the podcast. If you liked this episode, please subscribe so that you can get informed when the next episodes will come out. Thank you again and see you in the next episode.